Eugen stood at the tall windows of her palace throne room, watching the 3 moons of Altara rise above the crystal mountains. The soft blue light made her silver robes shimmer like starlight. She had always found peace in this view, but tonight her heart felt heavy with worry. The large doors behind her opened with a soft whisper. Heavy footsteps echoed across the polished floor. Eugen did not turn around. She knew who it was by the way he walked. "Your Highness," came the deep voice of Commander Deho, her personal guard. "The council messenger has arrived. He says it is urgent." Eugen closed her eyes for a moment. She had been expecting this visit for days. The Cosmic Council never sent messengers unless something terrible was about to happen. Her father had warned her about this before he died 6 months ago. "Send him in," she said quietly. The messenger was a tall, thin creature with blue skin and 4 arms. His species, the Kepler, were known throughout the galaxy as the record-keepers of cosmic law. They never lied, and they never showed mercy. When a Kepler brought you news, it was always the truth, even when the truth would destroy you. "Eugene of the Altarian Empire," the messenger began in his flat, emotionless voice. "I bring word from the Supreme Cosmic Council." Eugen finally turned around. Her long black hair fell over her shoulders like a dark waterfall. Her brown eyes, usually soft and kind, now showed the steel that made her a true princess of Altera.
"Speak,"
she commanded. The Kepler unrolled a long scroll that seemed to glow with its own light. The words on it were written in the ancient cosmic script that all royal families had to learn. By order of the Supreme Cosmic Council, dated this day in the 4847th year of the galactic calendar, Princess Eugen of Altora is hereby informed of the following. The messenger paused and looked directly at her. "Your father, King Hansu, signed the Treaty of Vex Submission in his final days. This treaty states that if he should die without a male heir, his daughter must marry within 72 hours of the decree being delivered or forfeit all rights to the throne and submit the Altarian Empire to direct rule by the Vex Confederation." The words hit Eugen like a physical blow. She stumbled backward, catching herself against the window. Commander Deho stepped forward, his hand moving to his weapon, but she raised a hand to stop him. "That is impossible," she whispered. "Father would never sign such a treaty. He hated the Vex more than anyone." The messengers for arms moved in what might have been a shrug. "The treaty bears his royal seal and DNA signature. It has been verified by 3 independent Cosmic Council investigators. The treaty is valid." Eugen's mind raced. The Vex Confederation was the most cruel empire in known space. They conquered worlds not just for resources, but for the joy of making other species suffer. If they took control of Altara, her people would become slaves, or worse. "How long do I have?" she asked. The decree was delivered at exactly 1847 Standard Galactic Time. You now have 71 hours and 36 minutes remaining. "Where must I find this husband?" "The treaty specifies that you must choose from eligible candidates present at Station Omega 7, which is neutral territory. You must travel there immediately and make your selection from whoever is available." Eugen felt her world crashing down around her. Station Omega 7 was a trading post and diplomatic meeting place on the edge of civilized space. Anyone could be there. Pirates, merchants, diplomats, criminals. She would have to choose one of them as her husband, or watch her people suffer under Vex rule. "I understand," she said, though her voice shook slightly. "I will prepare to leave immediately." Messenger rolled up his scroll. "The Council wishes you good fortune, Princess. May your choice bring peace to your people." After the Kepler left, Eugen stood alone with Commander Deho. The silence stretched between them like a deep canyon.
"Your Highness,"
Deho said finally. "This must be a trap. The Vex must have somehow forced your father to sign that treaty." Eugen nodded slowly. "Of course it is a trap. But the treaty is real, and the Council will enforce it. If I do not marry within 72 hours, the Vex will come with legal authority to take our world." She moved to her desk and activated the communication system. A hologram of her advisor, HFY, appeared in the air. The older woman's wise face showed immediate concern. "HFY, prepare my ship immediately. We'll leave for Station Omega 7 within the hour." "Princess, what has happened?" Eugene quickly explained the situation. HFY's face grew pale as she listened. This is madness, Haywan said when Yujin finished. To choose a husband from random strangers at a trading station. What kind of man would even be there? Any kind, Yujin replied. Diplomats, travelers, criminals, adventurers. I will have to choose quickly and hope for the best. But princess, what if you choose poorly? What if your husband tries to control you or harm our people? Yujin was quiet for a moment, and she straightened her shoulders and lifted her chin. Her voice became strong and clear. Then I will deal with him after I save my people from the Vex. A bad husband is better than slavery for millions of Altarians. 2 hours later, Yujin stood on the bridge of her personal starship watching Altera grow smaller behind them. Had changed from her ceremonial robes into practical traveling clothes. But she still wore the silver crown that marked her as royalty. Haywan stood beside her, reviewing data about Station Omega-7 on a portable screen. The station currently hosts representatives from 47 different species, Haywan reported. There are diplomatic missions, trade delegations, and private citizens from across the galaxy. How many unmarried males? The computer estimates. Approximately 300, though many are unsuitable for various reasons. Yujin nodded. 300 strangers to choose from, and her people's freedom hanging in the balance. She had never felt so alone in her life. Set course for maximum speed, she ordered the pilot. We have 67 hours remaining. As the ship jumped to hyperspace, Yujin pressed her hand against the cold window and made a silent promise to her father and her people. She would find a husband somehow. She would make sure that husband helped her. Protect everything she loved. The stars streaked past like silver tears in the darkness, carrying her toward an unknown future and a choice that would change the galaxy forever. Station Omega-7 hung in space like a massive metal flower, its spinning sections catching light from the nearby star. Yujin watched it grow larger through the viewport of her ship as they approached the docking bay. Her stomach felt tight with worry. Somewhere on that station was the man she would have to marry to save her people. 48 hours remaining, princess, Haywan said softly, checking her timepiece. Yujin nodded but said nothing. 2 days had already passed since she received the cosmic decree. 2 days of traveling through hyperspace, thinking about what kind of man she might find, and trying not to panic about her shrinking options. The ship docked with a gentle bump. Commander Deho appeared at her side, his hand resting on his weapon. I've arranged for you to meet with the most suitable candidates first, he said. The station administrator has prepared a list of unmarried males from respected families and diplomatic missions. Good, Yujin replied, though she felt anything but good. Let us begin immediately. The diplomatic quarters of Station Omega-7 were fancy and clean, with soft lighting and expensive furniture. Yujin sat in a comfortable chair while a parade of alien suitors came to meet her. Each one made her heart sink lower. The first was Ambassador Krek from the Bruthan Empire. He was huge and covered in thick gray scales. His small red eyes looked at Yujin like she was a piece of meat. Princess, he said in a voice like grinding rocks, the Bruthan Empire would be honored to join with Altara. Will bear me many strong sons to carry on my family name. And what about carrying on the Altarian royal line? Yujin asked politely. Krek laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Female children are useful only for trading to other families. Sons are what matter. Yujin smiled and thanked him for his time, but inside she felt sick. She could never condemn the daughters of Altara to such a fate. The second candidate was even worse. Representative Zil from the Crystalline Federation floated in the air, his body made of living crystal that changed colors as he spoke. Princess Yujin, his voice rang like bells, joining with our federation would bring your people great wisdom. We would absorb your consciousness into our collective mind, where you would experience the thoughts of billions. What would happen to my individual thoughts? Yujin asked. Individual thoughts cause suffering, Zil replied. Where in our collective, you would never feel alone or afraid again. Your people would also be absorbed, creating perfect harmony. Yujin thanked him and sent him away, but her hands were shaking. The Crystalline Federation wanted to erase her people's minds completely. One by one, the candidates came and went. A snake-like Sarian, who wanted to use Altarian technology for war. a gas being from the void territories who spoke only of profit and trade agreements. A insect-like hive lord who already had 47 wives and wanted Eugen to be number 40-8. After 6 hours of meetings, Eugen felt ready to scream. She stood up quickly, making HFY jump. "I need air," Eugen said. "Real air, not the recycled atmosphere of these diplomatic rooms." "Princess, we still have 12 more candidates to meet," HFY protested. "They can wait." "I need to think." Eugene walked out of the diplomatic quarters and into the main areas of the station. Here the lighting was brighter and the sounds were louder. Merchants called out about their goods. Travelers from dozens of species walked past, talking in languages she did not recognize. The air smelled of spices and fuel, and the ocean scent that always came from recycled water systems. She found herself in the observation deck, a large room with windows that looked out into space. Only a few people were there, sitting quietly and watching the stars. Eugen chose a seat in the corner and put her head in her hands. "Rough day?" Eugen looked up, startled. A human man was sitting nearby, holding a cup of something that steamed. He was not particularly tall or handsome, with brown hair and kind eyes. His clothes were simple work clothes, the kind that maintenance workers wore. "You could say that," Eugen replied carefully. She had learned to be cautious around strangers. The human stood up and walked over to her. "Mind if I sit? You look like you could use some company." Eugen nodded. The man sat down and offered her his cup. "It is just coffee," he said. "Nothing fancy, but it helps when things get complicated." Eugen took the cup and sipped. Coffee was bitter but warm, and somehow it made her feel a little better. "I am Taman," the man said. "I work in maintenance here on the station." "And you are Princess Eugen of Altara, unless I am very much mistaken." Eugen almost spilled the coffee. "How did you know?" Taman smiled. "Word travels fast on a station this size. Everyone knows about the princess who has to find a husband in 3 days or lose her kingdom." Eugen felt her cheeks grow hot with embarrassment. "I suppose it does sound rather desperate when you put it that way." "Not desperate," Taman said gently. "Brave. You came here to save your people. That takes courage." For the first time in days, Eugen felt like someone understood her situation. She found herself talking to this kind stranger about her fears and her impossible choice. "Every man I have met today wants something from me," she said. "My throne, my technology, my people, or my mind. None of them care about me as a person." Taman listened without interrupting. When she finished, he was quiet for a moment. "What do you want in a husband?" he asked finally. Jin thought about it. "Someone who would respect my people and help me protect them. Someone who would see me as a partner, not a prize to be won." "That does not seem like too much to ask," Taman said. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the stars. Eugen felt more peaceful than she had since receiving the cosmic decree. "Taman," she said suddenly, "are you married?" He looked surprised. "No, princess. I am not." "Are you a citizen of a recognized galactic nation?" "Yes, I am from the Human Colonial Federation." Eugen turned to face him fully. Her heart was beating fast, but for the first time, it was not from fear. "Then you are eligible to be my husband under the terms of the treaty." Taman nearly dropped his coffee cup. "Princess, I am just a maintenance worker. I have no title, no wealth, no political connections." "But you have been kind to me without wanting anything in return," Eugen said. "You have listened to my problems and offered comfort. You have not tried to impress me with lies or frighten me with threats." She stood up and faced him formally. "Taman of the Human Colonial Federation, I formally request your hand in marriage." Taman stared at her for a long moment. Something flickered in his eyes, something that looked almost like pain. But then he nodded slowly. "Princess Eugen of Altara," he said, standing and bowing slightly. "I accept your proposal." HFY chose that moment to find them. She rushed into the observation deck, her face worried. "Princess, there you are. We have been looking everywhere for you." She stopped short when she saw Taman. "Who is this?" "HFY," Eugen said. "Trine, To keep her voice steady, meet my future husband. Hei-1 looked at the human maintenance worker and then at Eugene. Her mouth opened and closed like a fish. Princess, she said weakly, are you certain about this? Eugene looked at Taemin, who was watching her with those kind eyes. Something told her that this man was more than he appeared to be. Something told her that choosing him was the right decision. Yes, she said firmly, I am certain. 24 hours remained until the deadline. Eugene had made her choice, but she had no idea that she had just selected the most dangerous man in the galaxy. Eugene sat in her temporary quarters on Station Omega 7, staring at her reflection in the mirror. In 18 hours, she would be married to a man she had known for less than a day. Her silver wedding dress hung on the wall, brought from Altera by her staff. It was beautiful, but it felt like a costume for a play she did not want to perform in. A soft chime at her door interrupted her thoughts. Come in, she called. Hei-1 entered, followed by a woman Eugene had not expected to see. So-young was the head of Altarian intelligence. It's a sharp-eyed woman who rarely left the palace unless something was very wrong. So-young, Eugene said, standing quickly. What are you doing here? I came as soon as I heard about your engagement, Princess So-young replied. Her voice was tight with worry. We need to talk about your future husband. Eugene felt her stomach drop. What did you find? So-young activated a small holographic projector. Images appeared in the air above it, showing official documents and photographs. Taemin is not who he claims to be, So-young began. His real name is Commander Taemin Choi of the Human Expeditionary Force. He is 32 years old and was born on the colony world of Kepler 442. Eugene stared at the images. They showed a younger Taemin in military uniform, his face harder, and his eyes colder than the gentleman she had met. He was the commanding officer of the Kepler Defense Fleet, So-young continued. 3 years ago, the Vex Confederation attacked his home world. The battle lasted for 6 days. More images appeared, burning cities, destroyed ships, and bodies lying in the streets. Jin covered her mouth with her hand. S brought 3 full battle fleets to destroy one small colony, So-young said. They did not just want to conquer Kepler 442, they wanted to make an example of it, to show other human worlds what would happen if they resisted. What happened to Taemin? Eugene asked quietly. He held the Vex fleets at bay for 5 days. While civilian transports evacuated the planet, small fleet was completely outmatched, but he used tactics no one had ever seen before. Hit-and-run attacks, fake surrenders, turning asteroids into weapons. The Vex called him the Ghost of Kepler 442 because his ships would appear and disappear like spirits. Eugene looked at the photographs of destroyed Vex ships floating in space. There were dozens of them. Goodness. On the 6th day, most of the civilians had escaped, So-young continued. Taemin's remaining ships made one final attack on the Vex flagship. They destroyed it, but Taemin's ship was also lost. Everyone thought he was dead, but he survived, Eugene said. Yes. He was found floating in an escape pod 3 days later by a merchant ship. But by then, Kepler 442 was nothing but ash and radiation. 2 million people died, including Taemin's wife and young daughter. The room was silent for a long moment. Eugene felt like she could not breathe. After that, he disappeared, So-young said. The Human Federation listed him as dead. But our sources say he has been hunting Vex commanders across the galaxy living under false names and working simple jobs to avoid detection. Hei-1 spoke for the first time. Princess, this man is dangerous. He is driven by revenge, not love. What if he is using you to get close to the Vex? Eugene turned away from the images. Her mind was spinning with this new information. The kind maintenance worker was actually a legendary military commander with a terrible past. There is more, So-young said softly. The Vex delegation arriving for your wedding is led by Admiral Korath. He was the one who ordered the destruction of Kepler 442. Eugene closed her eyes. Now she understood why Taemin had agreed to marry her so quickly. It was not kindness or love. It was an opportunity for revenge. What do you want me to do? Eugene asked. The wedding is in 18 hours. I cannot change my mind now. You could, Hei-1 said. Choose someone else. There are still other candidates available, all of whom want to control me or my people, Yujin replied. At least with Taemin, I know what he wants. She walked to the window and looked out at the stars, where, out there, the Vex fleet was approaching for her wedding, they thought. They were coming to witness her defeat. Instead, they might be walking into a trap. So young, she said without turning around. What do you know about Admiral Korath? He is one of the most brutal commanders in the Vex fleet. He has destroyed 17 worlds and enslaved millions of people. The other Vex admirals fear him because he enjoys causing pain. He will be at my wedding. Yes, Princess. With a full honor guard. Yujin made her decision. She turned back to face her advisors. I am going to speak with Taemin, she said. I want to hear the truth from him. Princess, what if he tries to hurt you? Haewon asked. Then Commander Daeho will stop him, Yujin replied. But I do not think he will. Whatever else Taemin is, he is not cruel. An hour later, Yujin found Taemin in the station's engineering section. He was working on a power conduit, his hands dirty with grease. When he saw her, he looked surprised. Princess, he said, wiping his hands on a cloth, you should not be down here. This area is not safe for visitors. I know who you are. Our Yujin said simply. Tae-Min went very still. For a moment, the kind expression disappeared from his face, replaced by something cold and dangerous. Then he sighed and sat down on a crate. I suppose you want to call off the wedding, he said. I want to know why you lied to me. Taemin was quiet for a long time. When he spoke, his voice was full of pain. Because Commander Taemin Choi is dead, he said. He died with his family on Kepler 442. The man you met yesterday is all that is left. That is not true, Yujin said, sitting down across from him. The man who held off 3 Vex fleets to save civilians is not dead. The man who agreed to marry a desperate princess to help her people is not dead. Taemin looked up at her, and she saw tears in his eyes. I know Admiral Korath will be at our wedding, he said. I know this is my chance to make him pay for what he did. But Princess, I do not want to use you. You deserve better than that. Yujin reached out and took his dirty hands in her clean. Once, Taemin, she said, I have something to tell you too. Something I have not told anyone. She took a deep breath. The Altarian Empire has technology that could change the balance of power in the galaxy, she said. Ancient terraforming machines that can create or destroy worlds. If the Vex get control of them, they will be unstoppable. Taemin stared at her. I did not choose you just because you were kind to me, Yujin continued. I chose you because I sensed you were more than you appeared. Now I know I was right. You are exactly the kind of man I need as a partner. A partner, not just a husband, Taemin. It's an ally. Someone who understands that sometimes you have to fight to protect the people you love. Taemin was quiet for a moment. Then he smiled, and it was the first real smile she had seen from him. Princess Eugene of Altara, he said. I think this marriage might actually work. I think so too, Commander Choi, she replied. Outside, Admiral. Korath's fleet was approaching Station Omega-7, expecting to attend a simple political wedding. Instead, they were about to face the combined wrath of a princess protecting her people and a commander. Seeking justice for his family, the wedding would be more interesting than anyone expected. The main ballroom of Station Omega-7 had been transformed into something magnificent. Flowers from a dozen worlds filled the air with sweet scents. Crystal chandeliers cast rainbow light across the gathered guests. Representatives from 40 different species sat in elegant chairs, all waiting to witness the wedding that would save the Altarian Empire. Yujin stood at the back of the room in her silver wedding dress, her heart beating fast. The dress looked ceremonial and peaceful, but hidden underneath were flexible armor plates and weapon mounts. Her crown was not just beautiful silver metal. It contained a communication system that connected her to every Altarian guard in the room. Beside her, Taemin wore a simple black suit that made him look like any other human diplomat. But Eugene knew that beneath the formal clothes were military implants that could enhance his speed and strength. His calm expression hid the mind of one of the galaxy's greatest tactical commanders. Are you ready? Taemin asked quietly. are you?" Yujin replied. He smiled. And for a moment she saw not the vengeful commander or the gentle maintenance worker, but simply a man who was about to become her husband. "Together," he asked, offering her his arm. "Together," she agreed. They walked down the aisle between the seated guests. Jean smiled and nodded at the various ambassadors and dignitaries, playing her role as a happy bride. But her eyes were scanning the room, noting the positions of her disguised guards and Taemin's hidden allies. The ceremony was conducted by a cosmic council official, a floating energy being that spoke in musical tones. Words were traditional, but Yujin and Taemin had written their own vows. "I promise to stand with you against all enemies," Yujin said, looking directly into Taemin's eyes. "To share my strength with yours, and to protect what we both hold dear?" "I promise to be your partner in all things," Taemin replied. "To use my skills to defend your people, and to never let revenge consume the love we are building." The energy being pronounced them married just as the great doors of the ballroom opened. A group of tall, dark figures entered, their black armor gleaming under the lights. The Vex delegation had arrived. Admiral Korath was easy to identify. He was taller than the other Vex, with scars covering his face and red eyes that seemed to burn with cruelty. He walked like a predator, confident that nothing in the room could threaten him. "Congratulations on your wedding, Princess," Korath said in a voice like breaking glass. Accent made every word sound like a threat. "The Vex Confederation is pleased to offer our protection to your new family." "How generous," Yujin replied, her voice sweet but her eyes hard. "We are honored by your presence, Admiral." Korath's red eyes moved to Taemin, studying him with mild interest. "And this is your new husband. A human, I see. How ... unusual." "I am Taemin," her husband said calmly. "Just a simple man who was lucky enough to win the princess's heart." "Simple indeed," Korath laughed. "I hope you understand what you have married into human.
Ow.
The princess's people will need firm guidance in the coming years." Taemin's expression did not change, but Yujin felt his arm tense slightly under her hand. "I am sure my wife is capable of ruling her own people," Taemin said politely. "We shall see," Korath replied. Then he moved away to speak with other guests, confident in his superiority. The reception began with music and dancing. Yujin and Taemin moved through the crowd, accepting congratulations and making polite conversation. To outside observers, they looked like any newly married couple, but they were actually coordinating their forces for what was about to come. "Jinwoo is in position near the power controls," Taemin murmured as they danced. "Haewon has moved the Altarian guards to surround the Vex delegation." "Commander Daeho is ready to seal the ballroom," Yujin whispered back. "So-young has jammed all Vex communications." They separated to mingle with different groups of guests. Yujin spoke with diplomats and merchants, her smile never faltering. Taemin chatted with other humans and shared drinks with alien representatives. Neither of them looked like they were preparing for battle. Admiral Korath eventually called for attention. He stood up at the head table, raising a glass of dark liquid. "A toast," he announced in his harsh voice. "To Princess Yujin and her new husband. May their marriage bring peace and prosperity to all." The guests raised their glasses, but Korath was not finished. Of course, he continued with a cruel smile. "Peace sometimes requires firm leadership. The Vex Confederation stands, ready to provide such leadership whenever it might be needed." The threat was clear to everyone in the room. Korath was reminding Yujin that her marriage had only delayed the inevitable. Sooner or later, the Vex would find a reason to take control of her empire. Yujin stood up slowly, her own glass in her hand, her voice carried clearly through the silent ballroom. "Thank you for your generous offer, Admiral," she said. "But I think you may have misunderstood something about my new husband." Korath frowned. "What is there to misunderstand about a simple maintenance worker?" Yujin smiled, and it was not a kind expression. "Taemin," she said, turning to her husband. "Would you like to introduce yourself properly?" Taemin set down his drink and walked to the center of the room. When he spoke, his voice was no longer gentle and polite. It was the voice of a commander addressing his enemies. My name is Commander Tae-min Choi of the Human Expeditionary Force, he said. 3 years ago, you destroyed my home world of Kepler 442. You killed my family and 2 million innocent people. Admiral Korath's red eyes widened in shock and recognition. His hand moved toward his weapon, but he was too late. I am the ghost of Kepler 442, Tae-min continued, and I have been waiting a very long time to meet you again. The ballroom erupted into chaos. Vex soldiers reached for their weapons, but found themselves surrounded by Altarian guards who had dropped their disguises. Human operatives appeared from behind pillars and service doors. Their own weapons trained on the Vex delegation. Korath snarled and drew his energy blade, but Jinwoo, Taemin's old friend, cut the lights with a touch of his control panel. Emergency lighting cast everything in red shadows, turning the elegant ballroom into a battlefield. You think you can trap me, ghosts? Korath roared. I have survived 100 battles, but you have never fought my wife, Taemin replied. Eugene stepped forward, her ceremonial crown now glowing with targeting systems. Her wedding dress split apart to reveal the battle armor beneath. Admiral Korath, she said in a voice like winter wind, you are under arrest for crimes against humanity and violations of galactic law. The trap was sprung. The wedding reception had become a war zone, and the most dangerous criminals in the galaxy were about to learn what happened when you threatened a human's family and an Altarian's people at the same time. The battle in the ballroom was fierce but brief, like soldiers were trained killers. But they had walked into a trap planned by 2 of the galaxy's most brilliant tactical minds. Within minutes, half of Korath's honor guard was down, and the rest were pinned behind overturned tables. Admiral Korath himself fought like a demon, his energy blade cutting through furniture and decorations as he tried to reach Taemin. But everywhere he turned, he found Altarian guards with weapons that seemed to anticipate his moves. Possible, Korath snarled, as his blade was deflected by Eugene's energy shield. How did you know we were coming? We did not just know you. We're coming, Eugene replied, firing precise shots that forced him back. We invited you. The truth hit Korath like a physical blow. The treaty, the forced marriage, it was all a trap. Not all of it, Taemin said, appearing behind the Admiral, with inhuman speed. His military implants were fully active now, making him faster and stronger than any normal human. My love for Eugen is real. But yes, we knew you would come to gloat over her defeat. Korath spun around, his blade aimed at Taemin's heart, but the human was no longer there. He had moved like a ghost, just as he had during the Battle of Kepler 442. You cannot run forever, ghosts, Korath roared. I am not running, Taemin's voice came from the shadows. I am hunting. The lights flickered and went out completely. In the darkness, inhuman screams echoed through the ballroom. When the emergency lighting came back on, 3 more Vex soldiers were down, and Korath was bleeding from a deep cut on his arm. But the Admiral was not finished. He activated a hidden communicator on his armor. All Vex ships, this is Admiral Korath, he shouted. Attack the station immediately. Kill everyone aboard. Your ships cannot hear you. So-young's voice came from the ballroom's communication system. We have been jamming all Vex frequencies for the past hour. Korath's face twisted with rage and fear. For the first time in his career, he was the one being hunted instead of the hunter. Moreover, Eugene added, reloading her weapon, with calm precision, your ships have other problems to worry about. Outside Station Omega-7, the Vex battle fleet was indeed having problems. What had seemed like empty space around the station was suddenly filled with human ships that seemed to appear from nowhere. Cloaked vessels decloaked in perfect formation, their weapons already charged and aimed. Jinwoo coordinated the space battle from the station's command center. His fingers flew over the controls as he sent targeting data to the human fleet. Ghost Squadron, this is Control, he said into his headset. You have green light on all Vex targets. Show them what happens when they mess with our families. The human ships moved like dancers, weaving between the larger Vex vessels with impossible grace. Where Vex commanders expected direct assault, they found hit-and-run attacks. Where they prepared for prolonged battle, they found their ships being disabled by precise strikes on critical systems. How many ships do you have? Korath demanded, staring out the ballroom windows at the battle in space. Enough, Taemin replied. Do you think I spent 3 years just hiding? I spent 3 years preparing, building alliances, training crews, gathering ships and weapons. But humans are weak, Korath said, though his voice now held doubt. You have no empire, no unified government. Eugene laughed, and the sound was like silver bells mixed with breaking ice. That is where you made your biggest mistake, Admiral, she said. You thought humans were weak because they do not have an empire? But humans do not need an empire. They have something better. What? Korath asked. Each other. Taman said simply. As if to prove his point, human voices began speaking over the communication system. Voices from across the galaxy, all reporting the same thing. Kepler Memorial Squadron reporting. Vex Supply Depot at Rigel destroyed. New Tokyo Defense Force reporting. Vex Recruitment Center eliminated. Mars Colonial Guard reporting. Vex prison ships liberated. Europa Mining Collective reporting. Vexer Processing Facility offline. The reports kept coming. Dozens of human groups, from military units to civilian organizations, all striking at Vex targets simultaneously across known space. It was not an invasion. It was a coordinated uprising by people who had decided they would no longer tolerate cruelty. Korath staggered backward, his weapon falling from his hands. This is impossible. Could not coordinate this many attacks without us knowing. You knew humans as individuals, Eugene explained. But you never understood humans as a species. When one human is hurt, all humans feel it. When one human calls for help, all humans answer. And when one human loves an alien princess, Taman added, moving to stand beside his wife, all humans help protect her people. The battle in space was turning decisively against the Vex. Their heavy ships, designed for overwhelming weaker opponents, could not match the speed and coordination of the human fleet. One by one, Vex vessels were disabled or destroyed. Inside the ballroom, the last Vex soldiers surrendered. They threw down their weapons and raised their hands, looking around in shock at how quickly their superior force had been defeated. Admiral Korath stood alone in the center of the room, surrounded by enemies, but still defiant. You think this changes anything? He snarled. The Vex Confederation has 1,000 fleets. We will hunt you to the ends of the galaxy. No, you will not, Eugene said calmly. She activated her crown's communication system, broadcasting on all frequencies. This is Princess Eugene of Altara speaking to all Vex forces, she announced. Your Admiral Korath has been defeated and captured. Your fleet at Station Omega-7 has been destroyed. Vex facilities across 50 systems are under attack by human forces. She paused, letting that information sink in. But we do not want endless war, she continued. We want justice. Release all prisoners. Return all stolen property. Withdraw from all occupied worlds. Do this, and the attacks will stop. And if we refuse, came a voice over the communication system. Another Vex admiral, speaking from far away. Tay-Min stepped forward and spoke into the communicator. Then you will learn why humans are the most dangerous species in the galaxy when you threaten the people they love, he said. We do not have your ships or your weapons, but we have something you will never understand. We have each other. The communication channel went silent. In the ballroom, Admiral Korath looked around at the faces surrounding him. Human faces and Altarian faces, all united in purpose, all ready to fight for each other. For the first time in his life, the Butcher of Worlds felt afraid. What do you want from me? He asked quietly. Justice, Eugene replied. For Kepler 442, for all the worlds you destroyed, for all the families you murdered, and if I give you this justice? Taman looked at his wife, then back at the man who had killed his family. Then maybe, he said, we can finally have peace. Outside, the last Vex ship surrendered. The battle was over. Humanity and its allies had won not through superior firepower, but through superior unity. The wedding that was supposed to end in defeat had become the beginning of a new age. 6 months after the Battle of Station Omega-7, Eugene stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching human and Altarian crews work together as if they had been doing it for years. The ship itself was a marvel of combined technology. Altarian crystal matrix computers guided human-designed weapon systems. Human tactical displays showed data from Altarian sensor arrays that could see across entire star systems. Beside her, Taman reviewed reports from across the galaxy. His hair had grown longer, and the hard lines around his eyes had softened. Marriage and the end of his long hunt for revenge had changed him, but he was still the brilliant commander who had held off 3 Vex fleets. The Vex have withdrawn from another 12 systems, he reported. The Andorian Republic and the Centauri Union have both requested formal alliance agreements. Any word from the Cosmic Council, Eugen asked? Want to meet with us next week? Apparently, our little wedding has caused quite a stir in galactic politics, Eugen smiled. Their marriage had indeed changed things in ways no one had expected. What had started as a desperate attempt to save her people had become the foundation for the first major shift in galactic power in over a century. The door to the bridge opened, and Jinwoo entered with a datapad in his hands. He had officially become their intelligence coordinator, managing the network of human and alien operatives that now work together across known space. The latest reports from the liberated worlds, he said, handing the pad to Eugen. Food distribution is back to normal levels on 7 planets. The former prison camps have been converted to refugee centers. Eugene nodded as she read the reports. After Admiral Korth's capture, the Vex Confederation had fractured. Some admirals had chosen to fight, only to discover that their ships and bases were surrounded by human forces that seemed to appear from empty space. Others had chosen to negotiate, releasing prisoners and withdrawing from occupied territories in exchange for safe passage to Vex core worlds. What news of Korth himself? Taman asked. Still in custody on the Cosmic Council station, Jinru replied. His trial begins next month. Representatives from 47 species have requested permission to testify against him. Amin was quiet for a moment. The man who had destroyed his family and killed millions of innocent people was finally facing justice. But instead of satisfaction, Taman felt only a deep weariness. Are you all right? Eugen asked softly, placing her hand on his arm. I spent 3 years living for revenge, Taman said. Now that I have it, I find I would rather live for something else, such as... He gestured around the bridge, where humans and Altarians worked side by side. This, he said, building something better than what we had before. The communication system chimed, and Haywon's face appeared on the main screen. She was on Altara, coordinating the integration of human military advisors with Altarian defense forces. Princess Commander, she said with a slight bow, I have the final reports on the joint training exercises. Human tactics combined with Altarian technology have increased our defensive capabilities by over 300%. And the cultural exchange programs, Eugen asked? Beyond successful. Human students are learning Altarian engineering at our universities, while Altarian students are studying human military history and tactics on Earth. Both groups are sharing knowledge that benefits everyone. Eugene felt a warm glow of pride. When she had chosen Timon as her husband, she had hoped to save her people. She had never imagined that their marriage would become a symbol of cooperation between species. Another communication came in. This one from Commander Deho, on the planet New Geneva. Your Majesties, he said, using the title that Eugen and Taman had officially adopted. A Sarian delegation has arrived. They're requesting protection from Vex retaliation in exchange for information about remaining Vex strongholds. Proved. Eugene said immediately. Any species that renounces conquest and asks for help deserves protection. After the communications ended, Eugen and Taman walked to their private quarters. The room was decorated with objects from both their cultures. Altarian crystal art shared space with human paintings. Books written in dozens of languages filled the shelves. Do you ever regret it? Eugen asked, as they sat together by the large window that looked out into space. Giving up your quiet life as a maintenance worker. Taman laughed. That was never a quiet life. I was always planning, always preparing for the day I would face Korth. Now I can plan for better things, such as the school we are. Building on Kepler 443, such as the new colonies where humans and Altarians will live together, such as the children we might have someday, who will grow up in a galaxy where cooperation is stronger than conquest. Eugen leaned against his shoulder, feeling more content than she had ever imagined possible. "The Cosmic Council is calling our alliance the Terran-Altarian Federation," she said. "They say it is the most significant political development in 500 years. What do you think of that?" "I think they're right. But I also think they are missing the point, which is..." Eugene gestured out the window, where the stars seemed to shine brighter than usual. "This is not just about humans and Altarians," she said. "This is about showing the galaxy that different species can work together as equals. That strength comes not from conquering others, but from helping each other." As if to prove her point, a group of ships appeared in the distance. Eugene recognized the elegant curves of crystalline Federation vessels flying in formation with the blocky efficiency of human cruisers and the graceful lines of Altarian destroyers. "The joint patrol fleet," Tomine observed. 6 different species, working together to keep trade routes safe. "More are joining every month," Eugene added. "The galaxy is changing, Taman. Species that have been enemies for centuries are starting to talk to each other instead of fighting." They sat in comfortable silence, watching the patrol fleet pass by their ship. Each vessel represented a different world, a different culture, a different way of seeing the universe. But they all flew together under the same banner of mutual protection and cooperation. Eugene Taman said suddenly, "Do you think your father would be proud of what we have built?" Eugene thought about her father, who had died thinking his kingdom was doomed, who had never imagined that his daughter's forced marriage would become the foundation for a new kind of galactic civilization. "I think he would be amazed," she said finally. "Always taught me that a ruler's greatest duty is to protect their people, but what we have done goes beyond protection. We have given our people hope, and what do you hope for?" Eugene smiled and took his hand in hers. "I hope that someday our children will live in a galaxy where the strong protect the weak instead of conquering them, where different species explore the stars together instead of fighting over territory, where a princess can marry for love instead of political necessity." "That sounds like a good future to work toward," Taman agreed. Outside their window, the stars continued to shine. It's no longer cold and distant, but warm with the promise of what could be achieved when different peoples chose to stand together. The cosmic decree had given Eugene 72 hours to find a husband. Instead, she had found a partner, an ally, the beginning of a new age for the galaxy. What had started as a desperate wedding had become a love story that would inspire generations. And in the distance, more ships were joining the patrol fleet, carrying representatives from species that had never trusted each other before, all of them flying together, all of them working toward the same goal of a better tomorrow. The wedding was over. The real work of building a peaceful galaxy had just begun.